looking at that aggressive body posturing, even when he's sitting in Lok Sabha, doesn't sit right with the Rahul Gandhi I know. He spoke about Chakravyuh, so he's using the tonality and he's couching what he wants to say in idiom and language, which is well known, which has reach in the grassroots. There's no doubting that. But pandering to a religious idea was never part of the Congress, mainframe. So I know he believes in spirituality. My conversations with him, and I have a relationship with him that has gone back at least 2 decades or even more. So I've seen him at close quarters. He's a spiritual person, and he has complete right to his views. Congress is the one comfortable party that everyone is comfortable with. Every election I get people who wear, suits, young people coming to me with laptops and saying, "Sir, politics हम बताते हैं, आपको कैसे होगा? सर हमने स्टडी किया, सारे चुनाव स्टडी किए हैं, हम बता देंगे डेटा."
So we have with us in the Indian Express newsroom Mr. Jayant Chaudhary, who's the Union Minister in the central government. He has 2 important portfolios, and he's the MOS for education and also the MOS independent charge for skill development. Mr. Chaudhary officially took part of the RLD in May 2021 and has since led his party in several elections, including the 2022 UP Legislative Assembly elections, when the party won 8 seats in the state. The party had contested those elections in alliance with the Samajwadi Party and other smaller parties. Then in February this year, the RLD joined the NDA camp and contested 2 seats in the Lok Sabha elections, winning both of them. And then Mr. Chaudhary was given the 2 ministries. Firstly, I'll ask a little bit about the RLD and its recent shift to the National Democratic Alliance, and what prompted you to shift from the opposition alliance to the NDA alliance at the center?
Well, I think politics is about, it's the art of exploring the possible. And I think from our party's perspective, there was a clear understanding of the direction that the country had taken. And the shift in polity was very visible. And we were very vocal in our opposition to a few things, to certain policy issues. We were strident in our politics. And that's the kind of style of functioning that appeals to our cadre as well. But we had to take some real decisions based on the political framework that was emerging. And then when the government took the decision of giving Bharat Ratna to Chaudhary Charan Singh, I think that was a long-standing demand. My father had voiced it on many an occasion. Whenever he was in, arrangement in power, he had also tried to get it done previously. So I think that was an issue where there was a real churn in our thinking process. And we realized that this is an opportunity where the Prime Minister has shown some faith, and he's shown through this one step a vision that they want to honor the legacy of Chaudhary Charan Singh, and that's our cause. So I think once there was a clear understanding on that, we started to approach the issue. Then we had a conversation on what is possible. Elections were on us. There was also a discussion with Akhileshji that had been announced publicly, though the details were not fully fleshed out. There were some issues there. Not all I'd like to air out in public now.
Yeah. Okay. The composition of the 18th Lok Sabha has changed compared to the last 2 terms. The BJP-led NDA government is now dependent on its allies, including your party. Your party publicly criticized a UP government order on the Kawad issue, and the TDP has now come out and criticized the Waqf amendment bill. So, how do you think that this is going to be a regular feature of the parliamentary proceedings, where the allies are also going to play a big role in?
I think dependency on allies is nature of the game. It's part of the game. It always has been. We might put up a public front where we say that the leadership of our, our front, our body is so strong that and so visionary that they put a stamp of the leadership on every decision. But irrespective, there is a dialogue behind the screen. Behind what is visible, there is consensus building. Behind every decision, that has been the case, and it is even more so now. So I think this is also what the public mandate, in a sense. Opposition is still in opposition. They have told the opposition that you are good opposition.
So, since you was just talking about the opposition, this term has a leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha in Mr. Rahul Gandhi. The Congress tally has gone up to 99 seats, and your former ally, the Samajwadi Party, also has 37 seats in the Lok Sabha.
99 seats in Lok Sabha is not a fourth position at the Olympics. So it's a poor, distant, second or third maybe. But yes, Congress is pan-India footprint, and therefore the largest opposition party in that sense. And whatever stand on issues that Congress takes is necessarily almost the stand of India parties as well. So in that case, in that sense, they are dominating the narrative. Of course, they are more strident and more confident. With respect to Rahul Ji's, his body language has changed, his posturing has changed. But I think there's a time to be the angry young man. When you're on the street, in amongst the people, raising important issues, then sometimes even anger is justified. But now looking at him inside Parliament, where you are actually amongst your peers, you are amongst colleagues. We are beyond, boundaries of party there. We are there to uphold certain traditions and certain norms of behavior. So looking at that aggressive body posturing, even when he's sitting in Lok Sabha, doesn't sit right with the Rahul Gandhi I know. So I think now he needs to remeasure and retinker the approach. They have a responsibility to the nation. They have to be playing the part of a responsible opposition.
And what did you think of his budget speech in the Lok Sabha?
Same thing. Aggressive. He spoke about Chakravyuh. So he's using the tonality and he's couching what he wants to say in idiom and language, which is well known, which has reach in the grassroots. There's no doubting that. But pandering to a religious idea was never part of the Congress, mainframe. So it's not something you can just use and abuse. You use that card when you think it'll get traction, and then you hide it away when you think it's no longer of use. That's a little immoral. So I know he believes in spirituality. My conversations with him, and I have a relationship with him that has gone back at least 2 decades or even more. So I've seen him at close quarters. He believes he's a spiritual person, and he has complete right to his views. But sometimes I think he's playing up the card that I'm also Hindu, and the Shivji, reference to Shivji again and again. I think the debate, especially on budget, should have focused more on actualities, on statistics, on the main policy issues, which I think it was lacking on that front.
Now we can have questions from the editors and the reporters here.
Jayant,
Yeah.
whenever I think of you, one line comes to my mind.
I am known for my one-liners only.
Okay, you talked about why it happened. But tell me,
In the heat and hubris of elections.
Now that is already turned, how do you think that your party will grow in Uttar Pradesh? Because BJP has a history of finishing the smaller parties. If you look at Assam, if you look at other states, you can see that the smaller parties have almost kind of finished. So your party is a party which is confined to certain areas. So what you see your party's future, being an ally of India?
To be very fair, politics is not about friendship. When you're dealing with another organization, another party, they're going to be out there to do what's better for them. And that has been our arrangement with every party we have aligned with. That's been the history of the relationship. Because we're the smaller party, inevitably, in every one of those transactions, we are likely to get squeezed. And it is not an unknown. It is not the first time. It is not only BJP that does it. Congress would like to dominate us as well. So I think that comes with the nature of the game. The issue is when we are sitting down, we must deal with each other with respect and on equal terms. And that is something where even at the level of the Prime Minister, I found that they have a very deep and nuanced understanding of that relationship. Lokdal is not a stranger for BJP. In fact, the first NDA, my grandfather had a role. He was presiding over that meeting in the early 80s.
Yep.
So there is a relationship. We go back, we got estranged, and now we've come back. So in a way, it's full circle. What we're looking for from our political perspective is looking at putting our issues on the table. We spent 10 years being out of parliamentary politics in the center. And I think the last time we were in government in the state was 2006, if I'm not wrong. So that's a long time. That's a very long time for a regional party to hold on to its base, to hold on to its voters and its supporters without having a seat on the table. Now we've managed to get a seat on the table. So extracting a pound of flesh is the wrong terminology, because we're only going to propose things that are for the betterment of our region and our people. And I think BJP is also a stakeholder there. BJP has strong roots in Western UP. That's the region you spoke about, where we have a majority of our legislators. We also have an MLA who's repeated his seat. Despite anti-incumbency in the entire district, no one else won. He repeated his seat in Rajasthan, Bharatpur. So we're going to try and build on that base. We have people in Purvanchal, we have people in Madhya, we have people who've stuck on with us in Bundelkhand. We're going to take up their issues as well.
You've spoken briefly about your relationship with Rahul Gandhi,
Yeah.
and that you go way back. In your opinion, I just wanted your comments or observation on his evolution as a political leader, given that you all go back almost 2 decades, as you mentioned, and I'll take you.
I think politics, there's a lot of learning. I'm now skill minister, so I know OJT and different terms I can throw about. So on the job is quite an aspect, and he's had a tremendous amount of time. So it does have an impact on the way he conducts himself, undoubtedly. The Bharat Jodo Yatra has had an impact. It's given him a confidence. He's become comfortable with his own skin. He's become comfortable, he'll break into English, he'll break into Hindi. He's not concerned कि तो वो चीज़ दिखती है. But still, do I think that Congress is really on the right path? I don't think so, because they don't have clarity in thinking. What does Congress really represent? Congress is the one comfortable party that everyone is comfortable with, because they've known it all our life. We've known it all our lives in democratic India. So it's part of the background. But no one really knows why they're voting Congress today. वो पुरानी वोट है, अब वही वोट बच रही है जो पुरानी वोट है. So to actually get the new voter, to get the young Indian today, is going to take a whole different set of skills, communication and plan.
I'll ask you a question about education. Of course, there was this controversy with the conduct of the NEET examination.
Yeah.
There is a committee in place, of course, and the committee has an expanded scope as well, which was given by the Supreme Court. But in your personal opinion, what do you think are the few changes or reforms needed as far as National Testing Agency is concerned, which basically conducts almost all our major competitive exams?
To be honest, that's not my department. I look at the schools. But of course, you can say that because I have access, I might have more information. Personally, if you look at, for me, what my thinking is on the issue, it's not an easy task. It's a challenging thing. Because in India, everything is competitive. And if you look at the scale of India, we're not talking thousands. You're talking lakhs and crores of people who are vying for the same post and who are giving exams. So the scale of what NTA has conducted is also something to, in a way, celebrate, that more than 200 exams have been conducted. More than 5 crore people have given exams. And this has to be an ongoing exercise. We have to constantly react and look at how the system is being gamed or not. If it is being gamed, we need to autocorrect. I think that's the task given to the committee. Let's wait for that report to come out. But I think many things that can be done perhaps is looking at the scheduling. Whenever you have one date, an annual date, it becomes a little troublesome. So even in skilling, there's a number of exams we conduct. We're doing review meetings. We're assessing the robustness of our policy and protocols in place. Because we know that like any other exam, there is a certain faith that young students put on us, and we have to get that system working. So if you have a biannual exam, or if you have an on-demand exam, if you have that capacity to do that, then that's desirable. But I think NTA, that's NEET is not possible because the numbers are staggering. So I think ISRO chairman is heading that committee. They have their own mind. Let them go through the process. They'll have interactions with stakeholders and come up with solutions. Whatever that committee has complete power, whatever that committee comes up with, those suggestions will be taken seriously by government.
This, I think, started even before you joined the NDA formally, but for the last 10 years, our school textbooks have undergone a lot of change.
Yeah.
They continue to undergo change. It's being reviewed. A lot of those changes, especially in social sciences, have been quite politically sensitive. The latest one being the changes pertaining to the demolition of the Babri Masjid. I wanted to get your comments on that, particularly this one, that what do you think of, for instance, one specific change was that they removed the name of the masjid almost from every part of the chapter.
They call this two-dome structure,
Yes.
which is in line with the judgment.
Okay.
I think that's the language that was used. And that was the ground that particular wording was used.
What do you think of that?
I think, changes, like you said, it's an ongoing process. And as long as we have academicians who are driving that, which we do at NCRT, then it's fine. We can pick a change and say we're not comfortable with it, or we don't want it, or why is that there? I think we always have that freedom. But for instance, a lot of things get played out, which is not the reality. For instance, in this session, it got raised in the House, and the Education Minister had to respond to that you removed the preamble of the Constitution. And we've just come off an election where the fantastic claims were made that संविधान तो खत्म ही हो जाएगा, भाई आखिरी चुनाव है, इस चुनाव में जिता दो, बस इसके बाद चुनाव नहीं होंगे वरना. So coming on the back of that, obviously it was a very powerful thing to throw at us from the opposition stable. But the government put its information there in the public domain that हमने हटाया नहीं है. It's about contextualizing. So NEP is talking about contextualizing the education, delivery, the pedagogy, the curriculum. And we are enhancing, if you talk about regional aspirations, that's the way to do it. If you're giving your curriculum in 22 scheduled languages, you're providing equity and access to people who may have been deprived without access to that language. So in that sense, it's a very progressive policy. Questions can be asked on how much we can achieve. That's a fair question.
I'll just add a line. Since you spoke about the constitution bit during the elections, there were many within the BJP also who said this and raised this issue.
Wrongly.
Yeah. Do you think that impacted the BJP and the NDA's performance in Uttar Pradesh?
See, you understand constitutionality, you understand our system. Supreme Court has already laid the law of the land. You cannot change the basic structure of the constitution. Even if someone wants to and they get 450 seats in parliament, it's still not going to happen. And the constitution is a living document. It's not set in stone in that sense. Apart from the basic structure, constitution is also responding to the needs of the nation. So I think amendment to the constitution is possible. No wholesale changes are ever going to be happening. So whoever said it, whether it was from BJP or from any aligned partner, or even sometimes people of opposition also take stands on that, it's wrong.
Jayant ji, Vikas Patil here. So one question I'd like to ask you, which we have asked other guests also. You also come from UP. How do you explain the steep fall in the tally of the BJP in Uttar Pradesh?
Okay, I'm going to take off my minister hat for a bit. See, politics is strange. Every election, I get people who wear, suits, young people coming to me with laptops and saying, "Sir, politics हम बताते हैं, आपको कैसे होगा? तो हमने स्टडी किया, सारे चुनाव स्टडी किए हैं, हम बता देंगे डेटा." Politics is not about the data and about past records. You can never, count anyone out. And that's why perhaps no one retires from this game. Because everyone still has hope. So this election was a strange one. If I knew what's going to happen and if I had that predictive power, then I would be God. No one can predict elections in India. UP, what happened, I think, looking at it, post-mortem तो कर ही सकते हैं. तो जो BSP का इतना decline हुआ, क्योंकि if there are 3 or 4 corners, which traditionally there have been many parties in UP, we are also a player in certain region of UP, not pan-UP, politically really. So as long as that vote is fixed, then it becomes a little bit easier to predict. But now there's a fluidity. And I think what we were just talking about, the whole constitutional question had deep resonance in deprived sections. And as you know, that's a big population in Uttar Pradesh. So they were thinking on how to make their vote effective. I think that at the last minute shifted on a few seats. That's the basic reason I can see. And so our communication got wrong. Second, the fact that there was no anti-incumbency against government as such, none that I could assess against the Prime Minister. But if an MP is not performing and you still have stuck with the same team, in a winning team sometimes that happens, you go with the same players. Some of them are not performing, perhaps some of them were not performing. And I think local factors also came up.
According to your judgment, is Yogi Adityanath likely to be replaced so as to get ready to win the 2027 elections and win back the OBC vote? That's one. Number 2, in your quieter moments, do you think shifting to India was a major miscalculation, given the fact that the direction of the wind had changed? You know, the base that your grandfather represented, Chaudhary Charan Singh, and when you took over, many felt you will recapture that base, and that was of Jats, OBCs, Muslims, and that is a constituency now the India Alliance is capturing. So have you made a mistake?
Let me address, I'll skip the first issue and then go to the second issue.
I should have asked only the first one.
You gave me an opportunity if I'm answering your question. I don't cry over spilt milk. Neither am I a predictor of the future. Like I said, I like to think about what is immediate for me. And right now, I have a seat on the table. I am constantly working and thinking. I'm being challenged every minute of the day. I've been given very technical and very challenging ministries. It relates to almost every family in the country. 24 crore, 25 crore students live in schools, plus the skilling, plus the convergence, where we are running programs that runs across ministries. So I'm busy with that. Politically, yes, looking back, you can say that ye galat tha or ye sahi decision tha, but where I am, I think I'm happy. And that's what truly counts. I think even our workers, our supporters who stood in the sun for a long, long time, they wanted some shade. So now they're saying कि अब हमें मौका मिला है, अब हम अच्छा काम करेंगे.
चौधरी साहब मीन्स आपके बाबा जी, दादाजी, वो अपने को जाट नेता
नहीं कहते.
बहुत नाराज हो गए. एक बार इंदिरा गांधी जी से बहुत नाराज हो गए थे, उनको जाट फील हो गई.
उन्होंने फिर एक पत्रिका भी निकलवाई थी, छपवाई थी.
ग्रेजुअली जो
असली जातिवादी कौन?
सर, लेकिन उसके बाद से जो देख रहे हैं, धीरे धीरे आपकी पार्टी को 2-3 लोकसभा की सीट और 10-12 असेंबली की सीट ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा 20-30 दी जाती हैं अलायंस में, और 10 के आसपास आप जीतते हैं. लोकसभा में 5-7 देते हैं. एक बार 2009 में 5 सीटें जीत गए थे, अदरवाइज 2-3 सीट. तो ये आपको लगता नहीं कि लिगेसी चौधरी साहब की काफ़ी रिड्यूस होती जा रही है? और अभी आपने जो एक्सपेंशन प्लान अपना बताया, वो वहीं का बताया जहाँ जाटों की आबादी है, मीन्स हरियाणा और राजस्थान बताया. तो आपको लगता नहीं है कि थोड़ा मतलब दादाजी के सपनों को...
नहीं, बिल्कुल लगता है. चौधरी साहब की लेगेसी रिड्यूस नहीं हो रही. पॉलिटिकल फुटप्रिंट हमारा जरूर कमज़ोर हुआ है. बट अभी हमारी पार्टी के 2 नेता अभिवीर यादव और अनुपम मिश्रा जी इस रूम में बैठे हैं. अब आप बताओ फिर मैं और क्या करूं? भाई हमारे मित्र जो हैं मीडिया में वो सपोर्ट करें, हम मुझसे सवाल पूछना बंद कर दें कि आप जाट नेता. एक इलेक्शन में तो मैं नुकसान खा चुका हूँ इस बारे में. I got so tired of people asking me, what are Jats going to do? What are Jats going to do? I said, God knows. I don't know what Jats are going to do. Something to that extent. I'm using English now to reduce the impact. In fact, when I first came on a public stage, very young I was, I think 25, 30 years ago, I went to Lucknow and commented on one thing, that because Chaudhary Sahab was very, very fervently an advocate for breaking this whole hold that caste has on our society. In every way, out of the box, creative ideas he used to give. So he gave those ideas when he was in Congress as well. So I said कि भाई अंतरजातीय विवाह होना चाहिए. So I got backlash from all the CAP leaders. They made statements because the media guys immediately went to them, Sir, Chaudhary Sahab, ये देखो क्या कह रहे हैं. So I face that backlash, but I'll still stick by it because that is what Chaudhary Sahab stood for. So I'm honoring his legacy. अब मेरी सीट 0 हो जाए, 2 हो जाए, 10 हो जाए, that is not Chaudhary Charan Singh's legacy.
बट एक चीज और थी, अभी आपने देखा है एससीज का सब कैटेगराइजेशन का जो इशू है, सरकार उसको उससे सहमत
मैं कॉफी की घूंट ले रहा हूँ.
जी हाँ आप लेते रहिए. लेकिन आपको पता ही होगा कि ओबीसीज का सब कैटेगराइजेशन
जी
इस सरकार ने कमीशन बनाया था
जी, हुक्म जी के उसमें अध्यक्षता में भी
तो यूपी में बनी थी, राजनाथ जी ने बनाया था
जी, और एनसीबीसी ने भी इस पे किया है.
रोहिणी कमीशन
या रोहिणी कमीशन
मोदी जी ने बनाया.
जी जी.
उसकी रिपोर्ट आई पड़ी है, रिपोर्ट आई भी है कि नहीं है, रिपोर्ट में क्या है कुछ पता नहीं चला अभी तक. यूपी वाली जो हुकुम सिंह की थी, जो जिसमें आपके पिताजी का बड़ा रोल था
जी, वो कोर्ट ने डिसअलाउ कर दिया.
मायावती जी की आई थी और वो उन्होंने रिवर्ट कर
जी.
तो आपको लगता नहीं कि जैसे ये एससीज वाला सरकार ने बदला है, ओबीसीज का सब कैटेगराइजेशन असल में वो ज्यादा पॉलिटिकली मोटिवेटेड रहता है. जैसे मुझे जो अंदाज जो आपकी सरकार से कुछ पता चलता है, एक परसेप्शन था कि यादवों ने सारा कब्जा कर रखा है, लेकिन जो रिपोर्ट आई रोहिणी कमीशन की उसमें अंदर सुना है मैंने कि ऐसा कुछ है कि 10 जातियां हैं जो यादवों से ज्यादा या उसके हेड पार जिनको रिप्रेजेंटेशन मिला है और वो अब वो इम्प्लीमेंट होने नहीं जा रही. तो आपको लगता नहीं है कि ओबीसीज का भी सब कैटेगराइजेशन उसी तरह से बेमानी है जैसे ये एससीज वाली बात हो रही?
एक तो क्या है कि जाति बहुत कॉम्प्लेक्स इशू है. मैं नहीं समझ पाया हूँ जातियों को अभी भी. असलियत है, जातियाँ हैं, उस आधार पे शोषण भी है. भारतीय समाज को सबसे पहले मानना चाहिए. प्रिविलेज इज अनसीन बट इट इज़ फेल्ट. इट मे नॉट बी एक्नॉलेज्ड एवरी टाइम बट इट इज़ देयर. So that's a harsh reality of India. We have to come to terms with it as a nation. Affirmative action is one way of doing it. It's not going to solve all our problems. And that's what I said. Even in India meet, I can share this. There were 2 people in the India meet who were not in consonance with the resolution on caste census. On Trump, on using caste census as the ultimate solution to India's problems. It is not. So I spoke out against that there also. And here, yes, data-centric decision making is a must. But we have to understand that caste data is inherently tricky to capture and very difficult to manipulate and very difficult to actually take decisions. Because it is a political landmine. तो आप ठीक कह रहे हैं, डोमिनेंट कास्ट जरूर होंगी और हैं हर कैटेगरी में. अब सवाल ये है कि एज अ कंट्री वी हैव टू सी कि हमें जो ये चीज़ें हैं उसका लाभ दूसरे तो कैसे हम पहुंचा सकते हैं. आई थिंक येस देयर आर थिंग्स दैट बियॉन्ड जस्ट द रिजर्वेशन एंड ऑल ऑफ दिस, देयर आर मेनी मोर थिंग्स दैट नीड टू हैपन. एंड हियर अगेन आई एम थिंकिंग एंड टॉकिंग अबाउट द muddled Congress economic policy, social policy, where they say कि private sector में reservation, they will cripple and kill the industry of India and the economy of India if they do that. They have to understand free labor market, free enterprise, that is the established global model today. There is no other model and we can't change that time, the clock.
My question is, UP government has come up with amendment in anti-conversion law, and the law is already under challenge in Supreme Court, and it has been passed from the Sabha. So, do you think that in the law they have increased the ambit of complainant? Anybody can be the complainant, and then there is a maximum punishment and life imprisonment. So do you think that is it a concern considering the Hindu-Muslim couple, that it will open to the further more targeting of Hindu-Muslim couple?
No, obviously, every policy and measure can have unintended systemic impacts. As policy makers, we must understand that. हमारी नीयत अच्छी है, लेकिन अगर हमारा काम प्रभावी नहीं है तो काम बेकार है. आप समझ गए होंगे मैं क्या कह रहा हूँ.
No, sir, but
That is the real concern. What you are saying.
Yeah, but sir, in these cases we have seen that courts are regularly granting bail and they are repeatedly saying that there is no clear evidence that
क्रिमिनलिटी नहीं है इसमें और प्रूव करना बहुत मुश्किल है.
Yes.
और अगर आपका रिकॉर्ड खराब है जुडिशली ऑन गेटिंग जस्टिस अंडर द लॉ, देन दैट द डिजाइन ऑफ दैट लॉ मे नॉट बी appropriate. That's the recommendation I'm giving to government.
You just spoke about interfaith marriages as a prescription for, better
Changing
society.
mindsets.
Changing
Yeah,
mindsets, absolutely. This is a law that requires state sanction for interfaith marriages. What do you see about that? As an individual, in a free-thinking adult, do I need the permission of the government to marry
What do you
somebody else?
think about that?
No, I'm asking you. I'm asking you.
I think my views on it are fairly well known. I'm not for such policy. We all have a freedom to practice our religion. We also have a freedom to not follow any religion. So I think that we have to have more freedom given to our individuals. So that's where I stand.
Can I ask? What I learned about your politics after listening to you is that you are not for exclusionary politics. You talk about inclusiveness. And you're sitting in an alliance where the chief minister says that will not allow a transfer of property, like Hindu cannot sell to Muslim, Muslim cannot sell to Hindu, openly. And in your own state, there are bulldozers going out,
Yeah.
demolishing Muslim homes.
Yeah.
There is a very clear.
अब तो पैन इंडिया हो गया.
During the elections also, they were communal talk is normal. So don't you think?
Not from our platform. Not from any platform I will ever share.
But isn't it hypocritical that you're sitting, you're part of that?
So we have to choose our boundaries now. We have to choose our battles. I'm fighting the war also. I'm winning a battle also. That's how I look at it. I'm not Yogi. I don't have to agree with everything he says or does.
And one of the things.
And we're not BJP. We are an alliance.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you, sir. And thank you everyone who's here.
Thank you.